Hello there, Brooke here from Legacy, coming to you live this beautiful day with my tea in hand, asking you first and foremost to like, comment, subscribe before we get into a very spicy topic, which is the topic of providing free labor, taking something that you do that creates value and offering it for free. This is, as I said, a spicy topic. And the reason it's a spicy topic is because of, I think, the imbalance that does exist along with cultural norms. So the imbalance that exists in the United States in particular, other countries as well, but I'm going to focus my efforts and conversation on the United States. But the cultural normalization of certain individuals providing a lot of free labor. And by free labor, that individuals provide, most of you know exactly what I'm talking about if you're a woman or a caregiver in general, and that is domestic labor, which does not have a price associated with it, nor does it create a monetary transaction typically for people who engage in caring for a home, caring for children, their own home, their own children, sometimes their family members' homes and children, right? So why is this topic so spicy? This topic is so spicy because it is a very nuanced topic, but I want to hit it head on. And I want to start with myself as an example. So, one of the things that I have learned is that from an economic point of view, and this is really important, right? We could talk about the economics of this. By the way, the whole conversation is judgment free and it's meant to be logical. We're not going to view this with emotion. Ladies, especially, we don't talk about this stuff with emotion. We talk about this with logic. Because with emotion, you become cloudy, and we need to just get down to the foundation. And emotion keeps us away from the foundation. So let's just take the emotion and stick it on the side. Let's do this logically. So from an economic standpoint, if it doesn't have a dollar or monetary exchange, dollar sign attached to it and monetary exchange that happens, it is not included in the gross domestic product of your country. So there is a vast amount of unpaid labor that doesn't get included in the GDP and the gross domestic product of the United States. And again, other countries as well. So right off the bat, there is this conversation about value creation. And is it really value creation if money is not exchanged? Okay, so I'm going to challenge that, which is yes, you're creating tremendous value. It's just not being counted in our more traditional, sort of archaic methodology of looking at what a country's total output is, because there's whole swaths of individuals, typically women, not always, but typically women, who aren't compensated for the value that they're bringing, and that value may be of a domestic variety. So there is value there, whether or not there's money that is changing hands when that labor is taken and done and provided to others. So now this takes us forward to today, and this takes us to folks who are incredibly successful at creating wealth. And this is anyone who's incredibly successful at creating wealth, not just men or just women, but anyone who has figured out how to create wealth. For people who have figured out how to create wealth, the theme for them is niche value creation and outsourcing of other items. What do I mean by that? If I have found and tapped into a gift that I have, and other folks are willing to compensate me monetarily, dollar signs, for the gift that I have, I should lean really heavily into that gift. In today's capitalist society, we, by the way, take that as a given. I got to take it as a given. I can't change. I can't change anything this moment. So it is what it is, applies here. You can't change the system. So you might as well take a look at the system and say, how does one flourish in the system? We don't get emotional about whether we like the system or not. So in a modern capitalistic society, which is the space that we live in today in the United States, you lean heavily into a skill or a set of skills that you have that helps you drive value, create value for others with you being compensated monetarily for that value. That is how individuals lean in to their skills and create wealth for themselves. And that the skill set can be anything. You could be a fantastic tradesman. You could be fabulous at human resources. You could be fabulous at teaching. You could be fabulous at building businesses, right? There's so many different ways that you can create that value. But folks who figured it out lean into the few things that drive the most value for themselves. You've probably heard of the 80-20 principle. 20% of the things drive for you 80% of your outcomes. So they find that 20% and then they further sort of collapse it down, and they keep finding ways to trim out the things that don't help them create value. And since they're creating tremendous value by leaning heavily into the things that they've realized the world will compensate them for, they can then outsource and pay others, monetarily compensate others for the other things that need to be done in their life. And then there should be a gap, there should be a spread between how much revenue they're generating and how much expense they're paying for all of the outsourced labor that they have paid for. How does this apply to women? How does this apply to me as a mom, as a wife, as someone of the female gender here in the United States? Years ago, I realized that I was not going to succeed or lean in to anything domestic. And by anything domestic, I mean really cooking and cleaning. I was not going to drive my highest and best value there. I learned this for myself. And so this is where removing the emotion becomes really important, because many people, upon me saying that out loud, judge. I don't care if you judge. I'm not interested in your judgment of me. I know my highest and best is not spent there, so I'm not going to spend any time on it. So I figured out that in order for me to drive value in my life as a human being, regardless of my gender, I had to lean heavily into the skills that my gifts, things I was really good at and really enjoyed doing. My ikigai, if you want to look that up, the Japanese term, right? The things I'm really good at, the things somebody will compensate me for, the things that will make the world a better place, and the things that I have passion for, right? So that intersection, I have to find that. And for me, that intersection was finance. That intersection was finance and helping others as it relates to finance. And I ended up building a lot of businesses where I was coaching others and motivating others and developing others in order for us to achieve great things. I realized that my gift was taking financial knowledge, which I'm really good at pulling apart and simplifying, and imparting it on others. And so I leaned heavily into that, unabashedly, unemotionally, and never, ever, 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 ever beat myself up for outsourcing other things in my life, regardless of the judgment that society or the culture may have for me. The swift judgment that comes only from, unfortunately, folks who believe in your place is this and your place is that, and you should be doing these things. That's not how I'm living my life. You can live your life that way, but that's not how I'm living my life. And I don't really have to listen to any of the advice that's offered by someone who can't understand that I am actually maximizing my value appropriately so that I can provide employment to others in the gifts that they have that they're leaning into. Which brings me to, I pay folks for domestic labor because I don't do it myself. And by the way, I'm adding to the GDP of the United States by doing that, as opposed to assuming that I'm going to find a free laborer, aka a spouse. Think about what I've just said without judgment. I did not think that I was going to lean into a free laborer. I believed I was going to be able to drive enough value myself to be able to employ and have a monetary transaction around the skill that somebody else brings. So I'm happy to compensate people for their labor. Now, Now, this is interesting. When you have a wealthy mindset, you know that in order for you to succeed, others have to succeed around you. They need to be compensated appropriately. That is how we all need to push forward in the society and in the, I'm sorry, not in the society, I should say, in the capitalist environment that we live in today. Societally and culturally, it's there's a lot of roles and rules and things that we break. I break all day long, every day. But as it relates to the economics of how you're living, I think that there's really a tremendous amount of value in taking a step back, and I'm inviting women to do this, taking a step back and saying, where really am I skilled? And how do I drive that forward, focus on it as much as I can, and find enough ways to generate revenue from the things I'm really good at. And that could be corporate roles, it could be small, medium business roles, it could be as an entrepreneur, it can be any which way you think you can drive that value is based on your unique skills and your gifts. But others will compensate you for that. So free labor. When someone has an expectation that you're going to be giving something to them for free, you never learn how to drive your own value. And if you've been taught that you should be a free laborer by an environment in which you grew up, etc., don't beat yourself up. There's nothing wrong with you. That was messaging that you received, and you decide whether or not you want to continue forward with that messaging. But do not hold anyone else to providing free labor if you think that's the only way it should go. Who wants to provide free labor? The only people I've noticed providing free labor are those who've been cultured to provide free labor instead of asking for their value unabashedly. And I've asked my whole life for my value unabashedly because that's how I was going to set the right example for everyone around me, including my family members. That was how I was going to drive. I'm not ashamed of that. I'm really proud of that. And we all can do it. So don't judge others ever for their choice of not asking for value for their labor. But conversely, don't expect everyone to show up and provide free labor. Right? We live and let live. I don't, and I compensate others for the labor provided to me. I would hope you would consider doing the same. Absolutely, we should not be expecting free. We should not be expecting free. Free is a gift provided by someone who has the means to give you free. It's okay to ask for your value. I hope this was helpful. I've released a mini course. It is on my website right now, legacy.com. Pop over, check it out. I take a lot of what is up here that I've learned over 20 years building businesses in finance, as a COO, as a CEO of my own company, as an executive vice president at a large bank. I take all of that information and I've packaged it and I'm selling it because I have value. See you soon, siblings. Signing off as Big Sis Finance.